News 24/7.
The 11-hour hostage crisis in Manila ended in violence Monday night, and many feel the media shares part of the blame. A storm of criticism came from viewers asking why TV network showed live footage of the arrest of the hostage taker's brother, which supposedly agitated former police officer Rolando Mendoza. President Aquino also said the media gave the hostage taker a bird's-eye view of the police assault through blow-by-blow reporting. All this led to calls for media to revisit its protocols and weigh the cost of a dramatic coverage. Tonight, we find out why journalists made the decisions they did and what responsibilities a free press has when lives are at stake. I'm Tony Velasquez. Join us in this special episode of Media in Focus. And with us are Maria Ressa, the head of ABS-CBN News and Current Affairs. Also with us, ABS-CBN correspondent George Carino, who covered the hostage situation at the Quirino Grandstand. Also among our guests, Barhel Santos of the Center for Media Freedom and Responsibility, and also Cebu Representative Gabriel Quisumbing, this is the other popular Quisumbing now, who's filing a bill requiring a media blackout on police and military positions during crisis situations. We also want to tell you that we try to invite representatives of GMA7 and TV5, as well as with the PNP, but they all declined. In any case, welcome to Media in Focus, everybody. And thank you for coming, Maria, George, Barhel, and Congressman Quisumbing. Well, I think everybody wants to hear from you, Maria, first, obviously. What was your command decision the moment that we saw the situation there at the Quirino Grandstand escalating to the point of violence?
First, it doesn't happen all in one shot. You know, everything was a step-by-step process. The decision which really prompted it happened at the beginning of the day, at 10 a.m., when we decided to send the van there. Are we going to go live with this? And at that point, yes. So by the time the 6 p.m., 7 p.m., the arrest of the brother, Gregorio, happened, we had already been live on ANC for 7 or 8 hours. We had seen 9 hostages released, and at that point, frankly, no one knew what was going to happen. All right.
Now, the violence began when the brother of the hostage taker, and you're talking about SVO2, Gregorio Mendoza, was suddenly tagged as an accomplice to the entire incident, and that the police wanted to take him into custody. He resisted, and that's where he tried to get the media to somehow protect him from being arrested. That was a crucial moment when many of our viewers thought that that was going to agitate the hostage taker. Was that a consideration for us to even stop broadcasting at that point?
Definitely the thought entered our minds when we were looking at it. You know, again, we had been watching this unfold for hours, and these were the factors that went in that we considered. Number one was what was our job in this, right? There was a point when we even considered, do we drop it? Do we just drop it after it was unfolding in front of you? Yes, but here's the problem. Everyone in that situation at the grandstand had a role to play. And frankly, when I looked at it, and again, this is not to lay blame, but to actually assess what each of our roles were supposed to be. My question during that time period is, who is in command? Who is telling us? Who is in control of the situation? Someone was should have been telling media where we were supposed to go. When Gregorio came out of the command center, command post, he went directly to media. Why was media there? Why were we allowed to be there?
Near the command post.
Why was that set up there? Why were the families, the relatives of Rolando Mendoza brought to media? Why were certain members of media given access to interview them?
So you had questions in your mind that somehow the police or the authorities in general were giving the media so much leeway to cover this event that you yourself would expect them maybe to impose the restrictions, but they did not come.
It's actually in any situation like this, because a hostage situation is not a normal cover the landscape. It's not a press conference. The rights of the media in a hostage situation are really pushed back. Government is in control here. Whoever is in control, we all agree that lives are the most important thing. And media will and did follow every directive that was given by those in control.
All right. Now, George, you were there at the situation, but of course there were several other correspondents who were deployed to cover that situation. Where exactly were you deployed to?
I was at the police community precinct, which is which was transformed into a command post.
And this precinct is actually beside the Manila Hotel?
Several, I think 100 meters away from the bus itself.
Oh, right. And that's at the side of the Manila Hotel?
Yeah,
or
the side of the Manila
Hotel. And there were, as Maria was pointing out, a lot of reporters there near the community police precinct. There's no effort at all by the authorities to restrict your access to the police or to the relatives of the Mendoza family.
None in any form, because they even allowed us to use their comfort room. And the basic problem was I was standing beside the Wires reporter Jim Gomez, and he was asking the police who and when is who will give the next update and when is the next update. We were hoping for a structured type of release of information, wherein an assigned police officer will come out periodically or at any given time and will just give out particular information.
But there was a public information officer of the MPD who was also there at the command post. This was Major Margarejo, Erwin Margarejo.
I'm not sure if I bumped into him at any point, but the most frequent people that I see were Senior Superintendent Alejandro Gutierrez and the Deputy Director for Operations, Senior Superintendent Fidel Posadas.
So was there at any point, to the journalist's mind, a centralized source of information that the police were going to give out about the situation?
No. At some point, we will just conduct ambush interviews or...
with whoever's available?
Definitely.
All right, so there was no ground commander who may have been the only person authorized to issue statements to the media?
What they were telling us is that the ground commander is Chief Superintendent Magtibay.
Right, and he's the district director for the MPD.
But he is inside the police community precinct, and we're not getting anywhere. Actually, we're getting some information on sources who requested not to be identified in front of the camera.
So you had your own sources while you were also talking to police officials who could go on the record as to what was happening on the ground. Now, Verhel, I want to bring you into the discussion. You heard Maria say, of course, that lives were at stake and the media was doing its job, also very mindful of the risk, of course, to the people involved, but at the same time waiting for authorities to issue restrictions, making sure that we didn't go beyond the normal parameters.
There should have been someone in command. I mean, that's clear, especially in a situation like this. But then there seemed to me a tragic misappreciation of the situation all around. Not just media, not just the police, but the government itself and everybody else. When you are thrown in a situation where you can do whatever you like, I mean, well, effectively, for a media person, you get what you can get, and you put on the air what you can put on the air. But if only news people had the basic awareness of the sort of situation this was, and what sort of situation did we have here? We had more than 20 lives in the hands of a gunman who was rather desperate. I mean, you realize, obviously, that this was a matter of life and death, and that if you had a hostage holder, this was a man who would be in a certain level of agitation, and if you somehow contributed to the raising of that level, he might just go for broke.